Welcome in to Mad Talk Sports, episode 46. A low-key underrated number. Alfred Morris is one of my all-time favorite running backs. He wore 46 for, at the time, the Washington Redskins. But here for today on Mad Talk, we got a lot to go through in recapping really quick everything in the NFL, specifically what we saw in Week 10. But as today's title, Average Joes, that's for a reason. A big chunk of today, we're going to go through some teams that don't get a ton of the spotlight, but are actually sneaky impressive and sneaky important in how the league is going to shape out this year. So we got the teams like the Texans and the Browns that will be going through there. And then, of course, we will wrap up with the picks for week 11. And that does start tonight with Cincinnati at Baltimore. Quite a gem to kick off the week. That's what we've been waiting for. We've really bared through all of the garbage primetime games, as far as the matchups at least, to where this week we've got some nice ones, starting with Cincinnati and Baltimore, wrapping up with Kansas City and Philly Super Bowl rematch. That'll be a fun one. And then even Broncos Vikings is sneaky interesting. So we got a lot to go through today, plus some news in the NFL too. Drake will be joining us at some point in the episode here today as he gets to be available. But while we wait for him, let's go through week 10, because week 10 was a good one. In the picks, if you follow that, I went 8-6 straight up. So a tough week. That's subpar for the standards that we've set on this show through Joe Stradamus, which has been doing quite well. But 8-6 brings us to 92-55 overall on the money line. It's pretty good. Yeah, not going to complain about that. And then against the spread, 7-5-2, which makes us now 17 games over 500 against the spread. Unheard of. Like, that's phenomenal. Anyone else you follow in their picks, they are below 500 against the spread. So if you're following along, you've been doing pretty good. But in recapping the week, as we always do, we've got to go through the medalists as well. And specifically this week, I put a lot of thought into it. Not that I don't always, but I did. And starting off with bronze, I went with someone who was just murdering in fantasy this week, who was just an absolute game wrecker on the field and in our hearts for those of us that play fantasy. That's TJ Hawkinson. It felt like dude had 1,000 yards. Realistically, it was like 130 and a touchdown. But it was annoying how good he was doing, because I was going against him in 2 of my 4 fantasy leagues, and his 30-something points kind of sunk me in one league. One league we survived, but one league that sunk us. So TJ Hawkinson, absolute beast. And it's not just him. It's obviously Josh Dobbs, who we gave a lot of love to last week, and someone we'll probably talk about again here at some point today in some capacity. But the Vikings have sneaky put together a really strong squad, and it's so strange because even with Kirk being out, this is a team that is quite frisky as far as what they can do in the NFC. Not saying they're getting to the Super Bowl, no, but they can continue to be a thorn in the side of everyone who they play. So TJ Hawkinson, he gets the medal from that team. That's first and foremost. Silver. Now, I wanted to give this to one person, as you know how I feel when Drake does, this or that. But I am okay with giving it to a group. And in this case, that's the 49ers pass rush. Oh my God. Like, that performance against the Jaguars was embarrassing for Jacksonville and for T-Law. Like, I don't even know how many sacks that they had, but Chase Young and Nick Bosa, the old Ohio State duo, reunited, like, excellent. Like, it was just a beautiful rush off of both ends to where Trevor would try to step up, but those guys are all so athletic and they've got such a good presence in the middle to where there was no lane to step up into. They absolutely ate the Jaguars. It started up front. That 49ers pass rush, they invest a lot into that unit, and it really, really paid off with at least this last week. And that's, of course, what they want to see more of. So hats off to the 49ers. Great move at the trade deadline to get Chase Young at the price that they did. I think that was immensely valuable, even though I'm not mad at Washington for the deal. I think it's fine for them. But we may look back once the Niners are all said and done and Chase Young makes a huge play in a playoff game, and we might think differently. But it is important to remember, no matter how great the Niners are or how he is with them, it wasn't like that in Washington. It just wasn't. So no revisionist history here, but hats off, credit where credit is due. But the gold was hard. You could argue CJ Stroud again as far as being that guy who should get the gold. I believe Drake and I both had him last week, and he had another impressive victory this week. But it's going to have to be his counterpart. It's going to have to be the backup running back for the Houston Texans, just as we all expected, the gold medalist of Week 10 in the NFL, Devin Singletary. How about that? How about that? And I think he ended up the day with 150 yards on the ground and had like 30 touches and a touchdown. Huge. It's not easy to run against Cincinnati. It's not. It just isn't. That's a very impressive performance, especially because their bell cow, Dameon Pierce, he's been not doing so great. I know my fantasy team, the one that I got him in, he's been a major disappointment. Like, not even sure if I should have him start anymore at this point. I don't, but like almost unplayable in some ways until at least he gets back on the horse. But Devin Singletary, absolute monster performance in a major victory for Houston, slingshotting them into the playoffs. How about that? And around media, around the NFL, people are like, oh, we're so shocked that the Texans upset the Bengals. We're not shocked on Mad Talk. Not one bit. Both Drake and I picked the Texans as our upset of the week, and it came to fruition, even though it looked a little dicey at the end. But impressive. And we'll get more into the Texans later on as we, again, live up to the average Joe's title here. Now, to really continue on with everything that happened in Week 10, I just talked about Devin Singletary. So he's a Houston Texan, but he used to be a Buffalo Bill. What did you think of him when he was on the Bills? Let's be honest. Did you think he was elite? No. Do you think he's elite now? Maybe not, but he came off an elite performance. Did he ever do anything like that in Buffalo? I can't remember that. Was he ever someone who was in consideration for gold medalists on Mad Talk? Absolutely not. Was he someone who could put up 150 yards, who could be that type of resource, that type of bell cow against an elite run game like Cincinnati? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Buffalo could not run against Cincinnati with Devin Singletary last year at all. And what that brings me to is how much of this, the success of Devin Singletary, he's in a new system, which is a Shanahan-esque system in Houston. How much of his success now is more so of an indictment of a damning factor, a damning evidence against Buffalo, specifically their offense, and even more specifically, Ken Dorsey. And that brings us to our next point here, and that's chaos in Buffalo. Chaos, much like it was in the offseason leading up to the actual games being played with everything going on with Stephon Diggs. But now they lose to the Denver Broncos in embarrassing fashion. But despite how they lost, with it being a special teams gaffe, a defensive gaffe with the pass interference, who wears it? Who is the one who's off with their head? It's Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, was fired in Buffalo midseason, a 5-5 team that is very much alive, firing their offensive coordinator. Now, many of you may know, some of you might not, he took over for Brian Daboll, who is now the head coach in New York for the Giants, New Jersey, whatever. But for the Giants, the New York Football Giants. And with that, people might say like, oh, well, the Giants stink. How good is Daboll? It's different. Come on. It's apples and oranges versus who's a good offensive coordinator versus who's a good head coach. And I still believe Daboll can be a good head coach. He was in the running for that last year if he didn't even win it, but he was in the running. He may have won it, but I know he was in strong consideration. But for the Bills, they have had such a significant drop off. It's well documented. We won't go too far into that as far as how they have looked with Dorsey versus Daboll, but the run game, that's again what we were saying with Devin Singletary. They have no run game. No matter who was their running back. If it's Devin Singletary, no run game. If it's Damian Harris from New England, no run game. If it's Leonard Fournette from picking him up off the streets, no run game. If it's James Cook, no run game. Nothing. If it's Latavius Murray, they've tried a lot of guys, and it's not the guys, it's the scheme. It's the way you're calling your plays, the way you're running your offense. So Ken Dorsey is obviously not blameless in this, but I go back to the style at which they lost. Not his fault, right? They made a comeback. It could have been a very marquee victory for them turning things around if they don't have too many men on the field. But at the end of the day, he was off with his head. And the question is it fair for that blame to land on Ken Dorsey? The simple answer is no, because again, it's not his fault. And the problems of this team aren't just from him. Josh Allen being a turnover machine certainly doesn't help. It definitely does not. People questioning if he's even elite anymore. First of all, those questions are absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. No question. He's still a fantastic quarterback. Fantastic quarterbacks are allowed to have rough stretches. And if he is Brett Favre-esque, then, there's going to be some of those where he is super turnover prone. It's a give and take. It's a give and take world. It's a give and take relationship with Josh Allen. So that is ridiculous. But back to Ken Dorsey and this being what falls at his feet. So again, it's not fair. He's not the only one to blame, but it was time to go, buddy. Like that run game, again, terrible. The offense itself, not that great. It was all right. Josh Allen, save us. Josh Allen, be our hero. Otherwise, we're toast. That's not good enough. That's just not. Like any coordinator can call for that. Now, who is taking over for him is Joe Brady. And if anyone knows who that is, he was the coordinator, the offensive coordinator for LSU. LSU, that fantastic team that had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and that went undefeated and set a bunch of records and was just an absolute dog walker. They walked everyone. They walked every opponent that they had that year. So he's the new coordinator. Now, I just gave up the hype as far as his the ceiling of what he's done. But at the NFL level, he was the coordinator in Carolina for Matt Rule's Panthers, and he did not do well there. No, he didn't have Josh Allen. So I actually think things will get a little bit better with Joe Brady versus Ken Dorsey. But it's been said, and I'm not the first one to make this observation, but if you remember last year when Buffalo first lost to Miami early on in the season, I think it was like week 4 in Miami, they had the game, but they essentially gave it away with poor time management. When it was over and they had lost, the camera shows Dorsey, and he's in the press box throwing a temper tantrum. He's slamming his stuff. He's flipping it all over the place. That's not a good look, man. That's not a good look. And then what I heard specifically from Nick Wright on Fox Sports is, when someone does that sort of thing in their job, like they're kicking tables, they're throwing things, whatever, either A, they're going through some things, or B, the job's too big for you. If you can't control your emotions about that job is too big for you. And I think that was the case here. Ken Dorsey was not ready to be the offensive coordinator in Buffalo. So the firing is justified. He's not the only one that's going to go this if they don't turn it around. That is, obviously, if you turn it around, no one goes. But for him specifically, he was the one taking the fall. But I do think there are still more to come, whether it's Sean McDermott, as we've talked about on this show, or if it's the general manager, or if it's I don't think it would get to the point to where it's any of like their big stars as far as like Josh Allen, at least. Now, Stephon Diggs, the drama's back. It's back. Specifically, we're kind of reading into it, but it's Trayvon Diggs when saying like he, tweets he's got to get up out of there. Think about it. Josh Allen was nothing before he got there. Like, all right, first of all, he should be focused on rehab and not having Twitter fingers like Kevin Durant. But this drama is real. It was something that I thought was very real going into the year, and now it just continues to escalate, I suppose. I don't really know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's a relationship thing. Maybe Josh Allen and Stephon just don't get along. But I don't know. It's hard to read, and I don't know. The question is, I don't know if a divorce is incoming, but can we say it's inevitable? And I think the answer is yes. Obviously, trade deadline's come and gone. He's not going anywhere. And he's going to be in Buffalo, at least for the remainder of this year and the playoff run this season. So nothing happening there. But this offseason, I think there's going to be some change in Buffalo. And one of the changes might be that Stephon's ready to go. And it could be something that's beneficial to both sides if it did get to that point, which it does, again, feel increasingly inevitable. If it did get to that point, I think the Bills could benefit from being less Diggs dependent. Like, obviously, you still need to have talented players. And I'm not saying Gabe Davis could step up to be a number one. I'm not saying anyone on their team could replace that production because they can't. They can't. But also, to some degree, the Chiefs move on from Tyreek Hill and they turn around, lead the league in points, and win the Super Bowl. That's what great teams do. You're a scheme. You're not just a player. It helps to have great players and a great scheme, but you need to have the scheme too. And if that's what it takes for Josh Allen to grow up a little bit as a quarterback and be a little bit better with his decision-making and throw to more guys at the right time, so be it. That might just be the way it is. So I do think that divorce it's coming at some point. Now, for the Bills specifically, the question about them in the category of chaos in Buffalo. Can they turn it around? Bills Mafia, there's a little hope. There's a little hope. You got a rough stretch coming up. The schedule for the Bills is absolutely brutal. Let's pull it up here and see how many wins you can count for them, because it's not easy. You just lost your what at going into the year you thought would be your cake game, and that's the Broncos. So next week you're going to be hosting the Jets, so a team that beat you, but you should have a good chance there. But after that, it's a pretty brutal stretch where you go at Eagles, at Chiefs, and then you host the Cowboys. You do go at the Chargers later on. You host the Patriots. That's your cupcake game, I guess, but they beat you. They beat you 3 weeks ago. And then you end the season in Miami. So it's an absolute gauntlet. Season's not over. It's not. You're 5-5. You still have a chance to turn it around, but it starts this week in New York. It starts with Joe Brady, and it starts with Josh Allen. Every single one of those guys, everything this week is super important for Buffalo in their season. Lucky for them, some other teams have slipped as well, but it's just such a climb in the AFC. You have no room for error. You got to keep moving, and you got to keep climbing. Now, staying in the AFC East, but to the cellar, we go from a team that's kind of slipping down to a team that is rock bottom, and that's the Patriots. This category, Slack Jones, Slakorkle, Mac Jones, McCorkle Jones. So the Patriots score a mighty 6 points in Germany. Ouch. And the worst part about it is they bench Mac Jones in the final 2 minutes. And this benching feels like the 30th time that they've done this to him in the past 2 years. But this time, it was after a pair of terrible, terrible throws. And it was really it all really came together. It all reached its pinnacle in a bad way, or reached its valley, the bottom, with the pick he threw when attempting to hit the tight end in the end zone, where he underthrew it by a solid 6 yards of what would have been a game-winning touchdown. I don't know what it is, but the question here is how much of the Patriots' woes is on Mac Jones, Slack Jones, if you will, versus their offense in general. So I'm going to go about 50-50. I do think the offense stinks. The O-line is not good. I've told Drake that I think they're a bunch of street cones most of the time. Their run game, as a result of that, not good. They can't throw the ball, so that doesn't open up things at all. Tight ends, good, pretty decent. No game makers, but they're not a weakness. Receivers, they're all hurt or they stink, so not great. And then you've got Mac Jones, who's showing that he's a bottom 5 starting quarterback in the league, and some people might say that's being a little nice. So it's not all on him. Again, the offense itself isn't that great, but there's been opportunities. I think back to the Raiders game where he was also, I believe, targeting Hunter Henry and absolutely just whiffed and missed an open throw. Like it's one thing to be bad. It's another thing to be bad and blow the few opportunities that you have. I think that's the difference between Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. Is both of them have questionable supporting casts in different areas. The Jets, it's mostly O-line based. In the Patriots, it's O-line and weapons. But at least Zach isn't just massively overthrowing guys leading to turnovers. Like he hasn't been good, not at all. But he's been better than Mac. And Mac's problem is, again, he's blowing even the few chances that they do have. If he could just be good at those, they would be able to win more games at least, or they would at least be able to be a better offense as a whole. Now, joining us after talking about Slack Jones is Mr. Drake himself. Drake, what up?
What's up?
Let me make you the same size as me. There we go.
Yeah, looks better. No background this week.
No, since it was lagging me out. What's the point?
I know. Slack Jones, huh?
Slack Jones. So I don't know how much you heard, but that's how far we had gotten. We had just talked about Buffalo, and then we were going into New England, which thank you for saving me and not having to talk about the Patriots much longer.
Yeah. He's going to be benched. He's going to be third string now. I've seen they're upgrading some guy I never heard of.
Malik Cunningham?
Who's going to compete with Zappy.
Who's the other one? Is it Malik Cunningham?
No.
No?
I just seen it. Sorry, I have no idea. I don't know who he is.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. Stay tuned as we find out the Patriots second string.
It's not Cunningham. I know that.
Got it. Well, to catch you up to speed, Drake, on what we've done so far. So I went through all my medalists, and what it was I had TJ Hawkinson as my bronze. He mostly because out of respect for him beating me straight up in fantasy. And then I had the 49ers pass rush take my silver, and I wrapped up with gold being Devin Singletary. So I went with some folks I hadn't mentioned before.
Okay. And you talked about Buffalo?
I did. And mostly about just the absolute, like the title says, the chaos in Buffalo. Talked a lot about Ken Dorsey being fired. And basically my main summarization there was, is it fair to blame everything on him? No. But does he deserve to be fired? Yes.
Okay. And then kind of a quick summary for mine. Bronze, I had the 49ers pass rush. And then I had Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown as my gold. Went with a little Lions heavy, but
I see.
Again, it was a fantasy. It was heavily weighted by fantasy because they both won me matchups in 2 separate leagues, and Jahmyr Gibbs has just been very consistent and impressive, and he did it with David Montgomery back, who also had a nice game. So I just thought he deserved it, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown,
dog,
basically beat the Chargers. So
that was a great game.
I know.
Shootout.
The quarterback is Will Grier.
Will Grier. Yeah. I believe he went to West Virginia. I think he started on the Panthers. I don't think he's had significant game action. Wow. Okay.
I got no idea who that is, but they are upgrading him from practice squad, and Jones will probably be dropped to third string.
Nice. So you're saying
So
there's a chance. That's crazy.
everything I've said about Mac Jones since day one has
Slack
come full
Jones,
circle.
Slickorkle
He's lost the
Jones.
locker room too, so
Yeah.
but I mean,
I mean,
I would, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't listen to a quarterback that sucks that bad.
we know what those are like. All right.
Yeah,
Well, you did join at like perfect timing because I was about to get to this next topic. Steelers stay stealing. I like that title. And Drake, your Steelers put down my Packers, and I said to you, like, I felt like that the Packers outplayed them by just a little bit, but the Steelers were more clutch and more timely and stole another win. And they now move to 6-3, despite the fact that they have been outgained in yards every single week that they have played.
yep. We probably would have been outgained in the bye week too if you could, but it's just it's just us, man. We find ways to win, I guess.
Find a
Clearly,
win.
I mean, and that's what it's about. Like, yeah, you can say, we stole a win or whatever, us steal another one, but we play great in the fourth quarter. Like, I mean, it takes us a while, and all game I'm always stressing, and I'm like, this is terrible. Fire everybody. And then it's just like I'm nervous up until till the clock hits zero, like literally. So yeah, I mean, we stole another one, I guess you could say, but I just think it's who we are right now.
It's the
We're winning
identity.
ugly, but we're winning,
Yeah.
and we're winning. We're 6-3, and we stink, but we're finding the way to do it. So if we can
Yeah.
improve somewhere, then
If you could just not stink.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if
And be
we
a
can,
juggernaut,
I think, yeah. I mean, maybe not a juggernaut, but
but a threat.
definitely could squeak in.
Dude. So the weird thing about this game, though, that was like a little bit different than kind of like your previous like gutted out type of victories was you guys came out swinging on
I
offense at
know.
least, and then just for 2 quarters, and then all of a sudden when you needed to, you got a field goal. That was a little different. Like that was, I mean, Joe Barry stay giving up 5.5 yards per carry. He has given up more games of allowing the opponent rushers to average 5.5 yards per carry than anyone else in the league since he took over. Like, that's a damning stat. To where we let Najee look like an absolute tank and look like he was, agile and stuff and not slow. Like, I was
Yeah,
angry.
our run game
Looked great.
killed you guys. Yeah, I mean, I was very impressed, but then
It was a
again, I
good
was
game,
like, yeah,
though.
well,
Very entertaining.
yeah, 100. It was a good game. Um, Again, all the way down to the last interception.
Yeah.
But I think that is a little different, because it's usually, like you said, our offense came out firing, and usually defense plays very well in the beginning, and then it's like our offense finally picks it up, and we score when we need to score. But like defense was slacking. They were playing well, but they were slacking in our
Yeah.
terms, I guess you could say. And then defense picked it up
Yeah. At the
at
end.
the end of the game. So
Well, like specifically in the red zone too, like that
yeah,
interception, the first one, like in live time, as the ball left Jordan Love's hands, I was like, "That's a dot," and it was a good throw. It was just blanket coverage, and
oh yeah, it was a
then he
good throw.
knocks it
I
in the
mean,
tip,
yeah,
But
it would have been. I mean, that would have been a highlight play, but
right, yeah,
um, we also thing is though, um, Alexander got hurt. He's out for the season for us.
Quan,
Yep.
yeah, that stinks.
Uh,
That hurts a lot.
our linebacker room is just very slim now,
It's
and
thin. Yeah.
that's what I'm worried about.
Don't you miss Spillane? He's balling right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing well.
Yeah. Well,
I'll still never forget. I was watching that playoff game, and I was like, "Who is this white guy that doesn't need to be on the field?" And you were just like, "That's Spillane."
that's the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Well, so again, another game where you guys, gut it out, get a hard-earned victory, and now you're 6-3, and you're in a game to you or the Browns. One of you guys are going to be 7-3, and everyone's going to be wondering how. But for the
Yeah.
Steelers specifically, where you're at right now and how you guys have played, how you guys have performed, what's the ceiling with this team? Like, is your ceiling 10, 11 wins, make the playoffs, and then lose, or can you be a real threat?
I mean, our ceiling would be like beating the Dolphins in the first round.
Whoa.
But I mean, that'll be what, December?
January.
That's when we know the Dolphins don't play really well. So, but like I definitely we're gonna squeak into the playoffs for sure, and then it's a matchup thing,
Yeah.
Can our defense play well enough to put our very bland offense in a position to have Kenny Pickett be clutch? Because I mean, that's about the only thing he's really good at, honestly.
Yeah.
Is just he's a very clutch
Weird.
player,
It's
and
weird.
I like that, yeah. But if we can get something rolling on offense, I mean,
Yeah,
I think
you've
we
been
can get a
saying
playoff
that for a
win.
couple of years though. Like, do you think you can get something rolling, or do you feel like you're seeing progress?
I mean, I'm seeing progress, but then again, like I said, I've seen things from Matt Canada that I actually do like. I think he called a good game against you guys. I do.
I agree.
So like I'm seeing things that I do like. I think maybe having him on the sideline is a better spot
Maybe.
for him.
Maybe because you can't
Um,
see as much, you can't mess it up.
yeah, exactly. And when he got he's got our players coming down and be like, no, that's a stupid call. And he's like, you know what, you're right. That's awful. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm seeing progress. Like we had our best run game of the year. Again, grain of salt because you guys aren't very good rushing defensively. But I mean, who else? Who else have we played that's terrible against the run?
I don't know if any, like, it's hard to say what teams are like particularly bad at playing the
Yeah,
run.
yeah, I guess.
Just the
But I mean,
Packers.
regardless, Jalen Warren, who is now the starter, and side note, I did say I called it.
Did.
He went over on every single line he had. But anyways, him being the starter now might help. I don't know. We'll see. But
I think it will.
I do. Like like I said, Najee will continue to get the goal line work, which good. I mean, what he can be useful for, but first and second down back should be Warren anyways.
Right. Yeah, I agree. He's just a more versatile player at this point, and he just gives you at least a little spark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. It definitely depends on matchup. If you play an AFC North team, you're going to be just a total pain in the ass. Like, no matter which one it is. If it's the Ravens, if it's the Bengals, if it's the Browns, and you're playing them in the playoffs, must see TV.
Yeah, I know. That one will be I would take us for sure.
Yeah, that's fair, and it's hard to argue against it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens against the Browns.
I'm excited for that game
I know without Deshaun
in a
Watson.
weird way.
Yeah,
We'll get
without
there.
Deshaun Watson, but
We've got some Browns to talk, but
yeah,
well, since we always talk about the Steelers, we're gonna keep her moving and get to the namesake of today's show. In case you didn't see it yet, Drake, Average Joes. So basically, in this segment, we're gonna talk about the Average Joes, but in an interesting way. And what I mean by that is I want to spend time on a few of the teams in the league that don't get a ton of attention. Like the media doesn't talk about them a ton, but this year they're sneaky decent and they're sneaky dangerous to some degree for some of them at least. And I want to kind of go through a few topics specifically with them because it's easy to talk about the Bills and the Jets and the Chiefs and whoever. And so I feel like a lot of these teams go under the radar sometimes, and there's actually some interesting things for them. So starting with the Raiders, they are now 5-5. They swept New York back to back, making them to 500 now. And the question with the Raiders is, obviously they were a dumpster fire 2 weeks ago, and then they fired everyone. And then since then, they've looked pretty solid, pretty formidable. And the first question is, can they keep it rolling? Can they do a little bit of what they did with Bisaccia in 2021, where they went on a little mini run. They made the playoffs. They gave the Bengals a scare in the first round. Can they do that again this year or something similar?
I think so. I mean, they have a good roster, offensively at the very least. And I mean, we're seeing Josh Jacobs play well again, who, last year was the leading rusher. This year he started off terribly, but now he's playing well. So, I mean, do I think it's some, new powerhouse team? No, but I think they can make a little yell a little bit. But I think that the coaching change was 100% needed for sure. And even the quarterback change. So,
okay. Well, as far as keep it rolling, like I think they can keep being a feisty team, a thorn in your side type of team. I don't see them making the playoffs with the stacked AFC, but they can be a team that it's at least relevant or at least not eliminated, until the way end. And I think you got to the next stuff right there with the coaching change was needed and the quarterback was needed. Specifically going through each of those, is Alec Pierce the interim coach? Is he the QB of the immediate future for them? Do you see them making him the long-term guy next year?
I mean, I don't know. From the last 2 games, obviously we've seen a turnaround. It seems like he's got control of the locker room. I mean, he says the right things. He knows. From these 2 games, I would say yeah, but I mean, we got to see how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. I would
If it's
say
just these 2 games, then I would say yeah. But
right.
You never know what could spiral or whatever. But yeah,
Right.
I said, I think he has a good hold on the locker room. And I mean, looks like he seems like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So.
And I obviously there's something to say about the fact that you swept Tommy DeVito and Zach Wilson, whoop-de-doo. But just the energy around that team, that franchise, and how that's flipped makes me think that even if they end up going 7-10 or something like that this year, like enough guys will have bought in and been like, yes, absolutely, to where you got to just let him be the guy at least for a year, give him a shot. Because if this is his practice, if this is his debut, his tryout, then so far he's knocking it out of the park. I don't know how much he can continue that. But again, they were a bottomed out franchise where they had no hope. And now all of a sudden, even if it's false hope, at least they have something. At least they have something to look at.
Yeah, and I mean, you said like it's New York, right? Nothing exciting is going on in New York, but I very strongly think that if that change had been made this week, I think they would have lost those 2 games, to be honest with you.
Both?
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito?
Dude, the Raiders look terrible.
Yeah.
Devontae basically wanted out.
I still think they could have beaten Tommy DeVito and the Giants.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know. Saquon might have had like 150 on him.
Wow. Maybe, I guess, but
And I mean, the Giants' defense isn't like something to roll over for. I mean,
They gave up 40 points to Aiden O'Connell.
Hey. Tiba, what's his name? How you pronounce it?
Who?
Their outside linebacker.
Thibodeau?
Thibodeau?
Thibodeau.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Thibodeau. Tebow.
Something.
Now I
Yeah.
don't even know. It might be Tebow. I don't know. But
No.
yeah, I mean, they got guys.
Yeah.
They got guys.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
think they're a good defense. So it's, yeah, you're right. They're not a rollover. They're not great, but
I mean, they stink, but regardless,
we
the Raiders were on a very, very maybe let's go try and get Caleb Williams.
Yeah, now that's out the window. Speaking of quarterbacks, though, they got Aiden O'Connell. What do you think? It's a small sample size, but we've gotten to see like 2.5 games out of him. What do you think?
I mean, think he's gaining confidence. I think he's getting comfortable. I think he's gaining confidence, from the team. I mean, I don't know. It's just like you said, it's a small sample size. It's New York. What, 3 games?
So he started the last 2 games, but he did
2.
play a game earlier in the year too.
Yeah. So I mean, what I think, I don't know, Chargers or something, but
Yep.
I don't know. Do I think he's awful? No. But we'll see. I'm not gonna, be on the hype train, but
No.
I think he's gaining confidence, which is what you need, and I think he's getting a hold of the locker room, which is something Jimmy G didn't have.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for now.
For now. Yeah, I agree. Like, there's some positives for sure. Like, at least he's going to be healthy. He's not going to get knocked out in the second quarter like Jimmy G. And I do think there's something to him gaining confidence and actually targeting Devontae and things like that. They're definitely going in his favor. I mean, I still think he's probably a stinko at the end of the day. Like, he's probably not going to be the long-term guy. But, at least for this year, I think he's shown that he can ride out the season. So who knows, though? Who knows? So far, he hasn't done anything fantastic. Like, he's got 2 touchdowns, 3 picks to this point. So, on paper, he hasn't been great. But I do think the energy, I think there's something to that.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? We could say he's, as you would say, a stinko. And then next year he comes out and he's,
A Brocco.
Yeah. Yeah. Who looks fine now that Tebow's back.
Now that the Monstars are assembled again.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about that too much right now.
No.
It's Average Joe's Day. And the next team, I thought about taking them out after the recent news. I really did because of the way questions are worded here. But this is the Browns. They are now 6-3 after the massive comeback win over the Ravens, which was shocking to say the least. Yeah. Side note, before I finish it, Kyle, who our listeners are quite fond of or know quite well to this point. So he's got like this track record of cursing teams. And in our fantasy league, what he said when the Ravens were stomping, when they're like 17-0 or whatever, he puts in the chat, are the Ravens the best team in the league? A team that he's been dogging forever. But as soon as he says, are they the best team in the league? They fall apart. But
dude, I texted you too, and I said the Ravens are elite.
You did say that too. Like, you guys just cursing people out here.
And I said that when they were up 17-0.
Wow. So you and Kyle should make like a cold takes podcast.
I guess. Kyle, hit me up.
But back to the Browns side of it. So huge win, hard earned. And let's not forget that they did beat the Niners without Deshaun Watson as well, which is even more relevant now that he's gone. And the question originally was, are they scarier than we give them credit for? And I thought about taking it out, but then I thought about it even more. Yes, they're scarier than we give them credit for. They can beat most teams on any given Sunday just because of how great that defense is. And the offense, it ain't great, but it moves the ball and it puts up some points to where at least they're not a total liability like the Jets. So I think they are scarier than we give them credit for. I think they could be a nightmare matchup for a lot of playoff teams.
I mean, I think I give them more credit than I should for them being in my division, to be honest.
You love everyone in the AFC North, dude.
I know they're all, it's just great
Best
matchups every time, and I do that. I love that division more than anything. But yeah, their defense is just phenomenal, and like, yeah, I don't know. A side note about Deshaun Watson: he's made $92 million cash, and he's played
Throw
12
14
games.
touchdowns.
He's played 12 games, $92 million.
Yeah. And it's like, and then even besides that, it's just like an all-time, like, mean move by the football gods to do that to the Browns fans. Like, of all the fans that don't deserve that sort of thing, with the Nick Chubb injury and just the, 20 years of sucking and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's already the worst investment in the history of sports, I think you could say.
And I
You
mean,
gave up 3 first-round picks and $200 million fully guaranteed.
and for Browns fans too, it's like, you get Deshaun Watson, right? Who before the suspension and everything was a monster.
Yeah.
Then he comes to the Browns and he's like 22nd best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, mid.
Like,
if that.
Or Browns. But that defense, man.
Amazing. It does suck because the rest of their team outside of quarterback is pretty damn good. Their O-line, great. Top 5
Their
probably in the league. Corners.
That's the best cornerback duo in the league.
That's a conversation. With Diggs being out in Dallas, I could see that. Sure. Sure. Why not?
They have right now, I believe it's both Browns corners and Joey Porter Jr. are top 3 for QBR against them.
Side note, Joey Porter Jr., now that I got to watch him for like a full game, he's fucking handsy, dude. He is handsy. Reminds me of Sherman.
He's a dog.
He is. He's a beast. He was in great position all game.
But yeah, he plays.
Yeah.
He's physical.
Yeah. And I think
physical.
A lot of the great corners do that, though. Like they're more physical than you're allowed to be, but they press the envelope. They push that, they push the narrative so that, if you do it all the time, you're not going to get called for it as much. I think that's kind of the way it goes. But back to the Browns, elite cornerback duo, elite defense, obviously. Good weapons, too, even without Chubb. Like Ford and Hunt, solid running back duo. Njoku's a beast. Amari Cooper. And he's underrated, too. And then Elijah Moore's decent. Like, they're a good team.
Yeah. I mean, you got Myles Garrett, too, who top 3 defensive player in the league.
MVP.
So.
MVP. That narrative needs to pick up speed because he is absolutely the MVP of the league. Especially if they make the playoffs without a quarterback. Come on.
You know how I feel about it, so.
Quarterback Ward, I know.
Yeah,
but
I hate it. But I agree 100%. Well, I don't know if I agree 100% because Tyreek is also very close.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
But one of them two outside of quarterbacks and then followed by McCaffrey, those 3 non-quarterback MVPs.
Yep.
For sure.
I agree with that. And I think those should be the top 3 MVP candidates, period. Step it up, quarterbacks.
I mean, we talked last week. I think Stroud's the only quarterback that I would even put in that conversation.
100% agreed. 100%.
So
no one else should be up there.
No.
But mainstream media loves quarterbacks. And that's why we're talking about average Joes here, baby. Average Joes. And now this next team is like the definition of average Joes. Like, come on. And that's the Indianapolis Colts. They are 5-5. So average, with having a 500 record, average being in the middle of the country, average being, kind of some plain uniforms to some degree. Like, they're just average Joes, and that's okay. But they stay surviving. They've taken some punches this year. They got AR, who was, concussed, out for season. And you got Jonathan Taylor, who you didn't think he would, not you, but, in general, you didn't think he would be on this team by this point. And now he's getting back, but he's, still getting in the swing of things. And, you've had injuries at receiver. Overall, like, the team has had to do a lot just to scrape their way to 500. As a franchise, how should they feel moving forward? So this season, but also beyond.
I mean, they've been bugged this year. I think a healthy team, they might be like, 6-3, 7-2, to be honest. Anthony Richardson was playing well. You got that most average of average Joes, Mr. Consistent Michael Pittman Jr., who's playing consistently.
Good for fantasy.
Oh yeah. And then getting JT back, Jonathan Taylor's back to form, basically. Yep. So
getting the full workload.
It just it sucks they got bugged, but I think you should feel fine. Honestly, keep the core together.
I agree.
And wait till next year.
I agree. I think you should feel great about the direction of the franchise for everything that you said, but specifically Shane Steichen was an out of the park hire. Like, I think he's been great. And I expect that to really continue as you get AR back, as he grows, because everyone always said he was the least pro ready, and he looked pretty darn good. So imagine him with another, year under his belt of learning NFL systems and everything like that. So future wise, they should feel great. And then even this season, they should be excited to watch this team. This team is energetic. This team wants to win. They play hard, and they've got a soft schedule. They can be relevant until week 17, week 18. I don't think they'll get in, but they'll be right in the hunt. They'll be sniffing it, as Rich Eisen says. Sniffing.
And their defense is good.
Yeah, it's back to what it used to be a few years ago.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean,
Leonard's back to form.
I definitely think I agree they should feel excited. I think you definitely keep everything together. And, yeah, I mean, like Anthony Richardson, like you said, he was playing well.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
100%.
Him and Stroud would be a good topic of discussion. The two quarterbacks who everyone was ready to, write down, I guess you could say. Not write off, but write down. And I think they both were playing well. I think Anthony Richardson was playing well, and Stroud's playing phenomenal. So,
And we've made it clear how we feel about Stroud. And that's the next team we're talking about is the Texans, who are now 5-4. They just beat the Bengals. And I gave us two big pats on the back, Drake, both of us, for picking that game correctly, because the rest of the media is like, shocking win by the Texans. Absolutely not if you watch Mad Talk. But
exactly.
Stroud gets a lot of love, and deservedly so. And we've made it very clear how we feel about what he's been doing and what we think of him moving forward. But I want to talk about the team as a whole for the Texans. And specifically, who else deserves a shout out for what this team has done, for this great start and their overall promising outlook? Because they were the seller of the NFL, man, the past 3 years. And now all of a sudden they're in the playoffs right now, and they look like they're just going to keep going to the moon. Who, Drake, are you going to give some more credit for that people are not necessarily giving it to?
I mean, obviously we've given credit to coaching. We've given credit to Stroud. And, last week we said, man, the rest of the team is just not playing great. I think their defense is playing well.
It's getting there.
It's getting where I kind of thought they would have started, but that's fine. They're getting there. And their receivers are really good. Tank Dell is a beast.
He's a tank.
I don't his watching Stroud's obviously getting him the ball, but Tank Dell's separation is
Next level.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I think that's a steal. Nico Collins is very well, very good. Um,
Very
so
well.
I think that everybody isn't getting enough credit. Like we look at them and it's like, yeah, they all stink, but not really. I mean,
Yeah.
offensive line gives a lot of protection to Stroud.
Yeah.
Stroud has more time than Bryce Young has, I guess you could say. And then Devin Singletary had a great game. And their run game hasn't gotten going all year,
Till now.
Pierce has pretty much been a bust.
Yep. Talked about that earlier.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, that's who I would get credit to. I think that it's being highlighted by Stroud and it kind of looks like everyone else is playing but I think they're playing good football right now.
Yeah.
And besides Stroud and the coaching staff, which we both have given a lot of credit to, yeah, I mean, the main one would just be like Tank Dell and Nico Collins.
Both of them. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's totally fair. And like you said, we've given a lot of credit to the coaching staff, but mostly to D'Amico Ryans. And who I want to give a shout out to is their OC, and his name is Bobby Slowick. And to be entirely honest, I never known that name until like 2 weeks ago. And now that I've dug more into him, he comes from the Shanahan system. He was with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco as recently as last year. He came with D'Amico Ryans, like, sneaky. And that, I believe he was their run game coordinator or something, like maybe it was a pass game coordinator, something like that with the Niners. And he's implemented a Shanahan-esque system, but kind of similar to how like Mike McDaniel put his own spin on it in Miami, kind of similar in Houston, to where it's like you see the foundation of a Shanahan offense, but you see a little different. Like this is a lot more run and gun than you're typically seeing in a Shanahan offense, which is him taking advantage of the players that they have. CJ Stroud, obviously, Tank Dell, like you said, Nico Collins, even Robert Woods when he's been healthy, and Dalton Schultz. Like I like what they've done from a schematic standpoint on offense as well. And, they're starting to click now, like really click. And future is just really bright for that organization. Will Anderson on defense was a hit. So there's a lot of people you could say are like deserving of a shout out. But specifically, I had to go with the OC because it's a name not mentioned very often.
And look at this. They've got the Cardinals,
Yep.
Jags, Broncos, Jets, Titans, Browns, Titans, Colts.
It's like 5 wins.
Guaranteed 5 wins.
Yeah.
Browns.
To be fair,
if
they lost to the Falcons. So,
we'll see where they're.
Anyone.
Yeah, they could, but they lost to the Panthers too. But
yep. But no, they also beat the Bengals and beat the Jags.
Yeah.
So like they've beaten good teams too.
Spanked the Steelers, and
that's true. At the time, it was like, God, Steelers stink. But now it's like, oof, that's a quality win right there.
So, you never know. But this is a playoff team.
Yep, I agree. They're in it right now. It's their spot to lose, basically.
Yeah.
So shout out. They're
100%.
impressive.
I think they could win the division. I don't think that the Jags are that good. I think the Jags are fraudulent.
They might be. It's hard to say.
I'm not big on Trevor Lawrence, man. I haven't been from the start, and
he's got to play better at the end of the day. He's been very mid this year.
They should have been here on your average shows because their record is 6-3, but
they get plenty of talk though. Average Joe's wasn't just that these teams are average; it was mostly the fact that they don't get enough, talk.
Yeah. Well, that's fine then. Fuck the Jags.
Come on. No, I'm not out on the Jags. They just need to turn around and get the ball to Calvin Ridley, damn it.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm out on them. I just think that they're very, 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 very beatable.
Well, for sure. But also, let's remember last year it took them till about this point to figure it out too. So like last year they were 3-6 to start the season. Now they're 6-3. So, if that's going to be a similar track to where they turn it around like mid to late season, then sure, they'll be fine. But I don't know. I'm not out on them. I don't know what it is, but they stink in Jacksonville. That's for sure. Like it almost might be better for them if the Texans take the division so that they don't have to play at home. But a topic for another day. The last of our average Joes are the worst record of the bunch. And that's Denver Broncos at 4-5. They have now won 3 straight: Packers, Chiefs, Bills. And with that, this is a team that not that long ago gave up 70 points and almost lost to the Bears in the toilet bowl, as I called it at the time. But now that tune has really changed. They didn't sell at the trade deadline. Russ is playing well. Drake, how should the Broncos feel about the state of the franchise?
I mean, Sean Payton was brought in to fix Russell Wilson pretty much, right?
Right.
And I mean, he's doing well at it.
He's doing okay.
They still stink.
They're all right. They're mid.
They still stink.
They're mid, dude.
I mean, they beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, that was an impressive win. And
I don't care about all that beat the
previous
Bills.
time.
I don't care about beat the Bills stuff.
Mike's they stink.
Because the Bills stink.
Shambles.
Yeah, the Bills are. I've been out on the Bills, but we've said that.
It's true.
No, I mean I think it's very. Huh?
You didn't fall for it this year when they beat the Dolphins, and
No.
the topic was like, should they be the favorites? And then
Yeah,
everyone else was like, yeah, and you're like, no.
But no, I think the Broncos. I mean, I think they got. I don't know. They gave up a lot for Russ, but if Sean Payton's doing what he's supposed to do and fixing Russ, then I mean, we'll see. I don't know how I feel about him.
So
it's like
I don't know.
I think they're terrible, but then it's like maybe they could be an average Joe.
They are an average Joe, like the offense still ain't great, but Russ is solid. His numbers are pretty good. He's not playing elite.
He's better than he was last year.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Which is huge.
Yes, it is huge. And now their defense is getting to where it was last year. That's the key, is that the defense has turned it around to where, maybe not elite level, but they've been quite annoying to where, they gave the Chiefs trouble back-to-back weeks or 2 out of 3 weeks. And the Bills, for, whatever we want to say about them, like even just the fact of not letting the Bills like do their run and gun stuff where they're throwing it deep all the time, like taking them out of their game is an accomplishment too. Because the Bills do beat up on bad teams normally, just not lately. But the Broncos should feel all right because of the way that the offense has been fixed. And then how the defense has been playing too.
You see all the Trayvon Diggs talking about free Stephon?
Yep, I went through that at the beginning.
That he said Josh Allen wasn't good until Stephon got there anyway.
Yep.
Which, I mean, it's a little truth to that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Trayvon also tried recruiting Stephon to the Cowboys this offseason.
Yeah, what I said at the beginning is he should be focused on rehab.
I mean, yeah, but that's his brother, so just like you're gonna,
for sure.
It's your brother. So
yeah, I think Stephon Diggs' days in Buffalo are numbered. Obviously, he's going to ride out this season. There's no other way, but I don't think he'll be a Bill next year.
No, Cowboy.
Maybe. I think they could use another playmaker, so maybe.
Just imagine that. Jesus. Let me not, because
maybe. We'll see. But that is a wrap for the debut of Average Joes, which I actually like. I think it's interesting, and I think it's something we could repeat, and maybe it's not team focused. Maybe it's like individual position focused or individual player or whatever, or even we do it for the NBA, whatever it might be.
I was going to say, mid-season NBA, All-Star break, Average Joes.
Yeah, I like it. It kind of forces us to look at different teams, and we get to show a spotlight to those that don't get quite enough of it. So Good stuff. I like that.
Talk about the people who stink.
They don't stink. They're average. Come on.
Average.
Average. All right. Now, to round out today, we've got to go through our week 11 picks as always. I have not looked at the game going on right now. I have not looked at it at all. So I'm going to stick with my score of what I would have had. And Cincinnati at Baltimore, tough game to pick. Baltimore 3.5 point favorites. This is an absolute must win for Cincinnati. But I'm going to take the Ravens 26-24.
I'm gonna take the Ravens too. Oh, by the way, I think I'm undefeated against the spread.
2-0.
But right now, since you gave your score and your pick and everything, Ravens are up 7-3 in the first quarter.
Let's go, Gus Edwards. That would be great.
Who scored? What? Gus Edwards.
Let's go.
5 yards and a touchdown.
I love it. That's what he does. All right. Next up, another AFC North battle back-to-back here. Again, one of these teams is going to be 7-3 at the end of this week, and we are all going to be sitting there like, what? But Pittsburgh at Cleveland this time. Cleveland was originally like a 4.5 point favorite, but post the Deshaun news, they went to 1.5 point.
You should just go. I mean,
well, obviously we know where you're going. Yeah. And last time I picked the Steelers. This time I'm picking the Browns. I think you guys are splitting on the year. I got Cleveland 20-17. I don't feel great about the pick, but I always felt like going into this year, you guys were going to split. So I'm kind of sticking with that.
I mean, we usually do, so it's not a bad pick, but I got the Steelers.
I mean,
17 obviously. Steeler picks, and we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see. Next up, we've got one of the stinkers of the week, and that's Vegas at Miami. Miami, 12.5 point favorites.
Miami.
Think they can cover the spread?
Probably.
Wow.
Dude, Vegas? Tyreek's going to have 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I think the Raiders are going to fight at least a little bit and only lose by 10. I got Dolphins 27-17. I don't know. I got this feeling that the Dolphins are going to kind of like sputter for a quarter or two on offense and then just eventually explode and take the game away. I don't know. Not a whole lot of analysis to it besides the fact that the Raiders are playing hard and playing hungry, and hungry teams can usually give the Dolphins some trouble, but it's still Dolphins winning it. But
yeah,
kind of threading the needle.
I've never been good at the spread because I never even like pay attention to it because it's always,
dude,
so much like BS to me.
I'm doing great against the spread this year, like I've told you, but like everyone that I watch, they're at best like a game above 500, and I'm 17 games above 500. So don't watch NBC Sports. Come right here.
I've told you, you work in Illinois, like just put the bets in on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's going to be the future plan is going into the season. I just have like a $1,600 pot to bet $100 on every game that week. And then of my money winnings, I take the extra and pocket it, and the rest goes back into next week, and so on and so forth. Because
you better hope you don't lose all 1,600, right?
Week 1, 0-16. That's what I'm kind of afraid of. Is as soon as I start actually putting like real money on it, is when all of a sudden I'm gonna stink. But at least for now, we're good. All right, next up. NFC North battle, Chicago at Detroit. Justin Fields is expected to play, but Detroit 7.5 point favorites.
Justin Fields is expected to play?
Yep.
So Detroit secondary gets some help this week. Nice.
Wow.
I got Detroit
30-20. I do think Detroit's defense has become a little suspect lately, so I'm something to keep an eye on.
No, they have. Next
up, we've got a AFC South battle, and that's Tennessee at Jacksonville. So in Duval, Jacksonville, 7-point favorite.
I just did all this talk about Jacksonville, but I think they win.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing the Titans. All that Will Levis talk of him being, the answer, I don't think so.
You just beat me to it.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool that he came out and had an awesome debut, but I made the comparison right away of like, Mariota did that too.
But I didn't think it was going to be Will Levis. I thought D-Hop was going to carry the whole thing. So I just thought, he was going to feed D-Hop and D-Hop would make him look good.
Yeah.
Which is what he did, that the first game, but it hasn't translated to anything else. So,
yep.
I love how in like all 20 of my fantasy leagues, everyone like rushed to pick him up and then started him, and I'm like, losers.
So dumb. So dumb. Well, I got the Jags too. 28-20. I do think this game will be sneaky close for a while because the Jags are, very beatable still, especially in Duval. Next up, I might go to this game. I didn't end up going to Pittsburgh, Green Bay last week, but Chargers at the Packers this week. Chargers are 3-point favorites.
Go. I do have the Chargers. I think that it's going to be a high-scoring game, though. I think your offense is going to click, but I think that the Chargers offense is going to have a better game against your defense. Because, I mean, the Chargers defense is
Stinko.
Not good. So I'm going to start Dobbs this week in fantasy.
Me too.
So
start him over Pickens.
Not mad at it.
But, so, you know where I'm going. Just kidding. I picked the Chargers. Packers defense sucks. We're about to give up 30-something. But I do agree with you that this is going to be a nice high-scoring game. I got Chargers 31-24, so not like unreasonably high-scoring, but like a good offensive game. And, part of me is hoping that I'm doing a little bit of reverse psychology and giving, having the luck go the Packers' way by picking against them. But I just don't know how much the Packers are what's sinking me in my records. Like, imagine if I was picking objectively about their games. But for the first time this year, I'm picking against them.
I would say 37-28. Chargers.
I wouldn't be mad at that. Then Joe Barry can get fired.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Well,
but hey, me picking the Steelers every week, I'm about to have 7-3. It's better than what?
3-5. Yep. Well, this next game became kind of sneaky good with Kyler Murray coming back, and that's Cardinals at Texans. Texans are 4.5-point favorites.
And I've got the Texans.
I do too. And the score I had before I looked at the spread was Texans 27-23, which means I would have the Cardinals covering by 0.5 point. And that makes me so nervous, but I'm going to ride it out. I've been doing pretty well with threading the needle there. So I'm going to keep it going. Texans, but I think a pretty good game.
I think, I actually think that Kyler might have a good game. So,
yeah, could be a game that comes down to a field goal again or something like that. Texans have had a lot of really close games.
Oh, yeah.
So that might happen. Yep, they have. They've been winning.
But they've lost.
Yeah.
They lost to the Falcons and the
They've
Panthers.
Done both. That's true. Very true.
So.
All right. Next up, Dallas at Carolina. Dallas is 10.5-point favorites.
Dallas should be like 30.5-point favorites.
You always say this, and now they're going to lose.
I know I do. And then guess what happens? They always win by like 30.
Wow. Cowboys by 21, 38-17.
Not bad.
Well, not terrible for the Panthers. Like, there is something to the Cowboys being not as good on the road. I do think that's real. Still, they're 20 points better than the Panthers, so they should demolish them. Their NFC East counterparts, Tommy DeVito and the Giants, are going at Washington to take on the Commanders, who are 9.5-point favorites.
I have the Commanders. Dude, Sam Howell, Okay, he's having a good year. It's nothing to be like, oh, next year he's gonna be, this and that, but he's having a good year.
Yes and no. Like, I think production has definitely been good. He's been a little feast or famine. Like, he's either great or he sucks. Like, there's
Oh
no in
yeah,
between for him,
oh yeah,
which is better than what they've had in
yeah.
previous years. So, it's fine. Commanders 30-7. Giants can't score.
37, Jesus.
I
I
know.
mean, they do have Tommy DeVito.
Yeah. Plus, there's going to be a little revenge factor from the last time these guys played, and it was that super gross, low scoring game. Uh, but this next game is, I think, sneaky good. I don't really agree with the spread here at all, but Tampa Bay at San Fran. San Fran is 11.5 point favorite.
Dude, that San Francisco defense is nasty now.
Dude, it is, but we're 2 weeks removed from saying that it wasn't as good as it was supposed to be.
I mean, dude, they were playing bad.
Yeah, they were, and I think they could
And
get back into that to some degree.
you know,
I just
those
think it's too
games
many points.
were the games where, Williams was out, McCaffrey was hurt, Debo was out. Um, the defense was on the field almost the whole game.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
No,
I
I mean
think
that's
there
fair.
is some. I think those 2, 3 weeks
Yeah.
should be taken with a grain of salt. I still think the Niners are the Niners.
I
Um,
think so too. I just think 11.5 points is too much. I got Niners 27-20. Like, I still got them winning by a full touchdown, but I think I think that spread should be more like 7.5. Like, I don't like the 11.5. I think that's too much.
it's fine. I would take him winning by 10, like at the
Well,
very least.
all right. Okay. Well, how about the rematch from the Aaron Rodgers Achilles game? We got Jets at Bills. Bills 7 point favorites.
Got the Bills.
I do
There's no
too.
way Wilson Wilson Magic comes back and does what he did week 1.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I think the Bills will come out very motivated. I got the Bills 23-17. So I thread the needle because I'm picking the Bills, but I'm having the Jets cover. That's part of the danger of picking before you look at the spread. But also maybe that's part of the magic. But yeah, I think that'll be a pretty good game. I'm looking forward to seeing how that one goes because it's a must win for both teams.
Maybe that's why you're 17 games ahead of 500 because you're not influenced by the spread at first.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the spread is tricky. Like, they're trying to bait you with the spread.
So
So,
like all the other bettors who bet on the spread, they go and they look at the spread and then they're like,
oh,
"Oh my
Denver,
god,
like
well the Niners
2.5.
defense just gave up this and
Yeah,
they just did this, so this is what we should go with." But you're just like, this is what the score is going to be. This is what I'm going to bet. Now look at the spread.
yeah,
Maybe that's why your record's so good.
maybe. Yeah, because the spread is meant, they set it where it's meant to make them money, like at the end of the
Yep.
day. And I'm usually pretty good about picking or guessing what the spread's going to be. So it's not like I'm going in totally blind or anything like that. But
That's
I
why
agree.
it's all rigged. Anyways.
Okay, Drake. Another conversation for another day type of deal there.
Yeah.
Uh, how about another week 1 rematch? We got Seattle at the Rams. Seattle is a very slim 1 point favorite on the road.
Is Carson Wentz going to play this week?
Honestly, I don't know.
Like, I don't know
I
what
don't
happened
think
with that.
so.
It's like Carson Wentz got signed, and then it's just we've heard nothing about the Rams at all.
It
Um, but I did pick Seattle.
says likely to start is Stafford.
Stafford.
Yep.
So they signed Wentz for why?
To be a backup.
Okay.
But
If Stafford's gonna start, then I'll say the Rams.
okay. I like the
I'll pick
flip
the
flop.
Rams.
I'm also picking the Rams to
Yeah.
sweep the Seahawks this year. I got Rams 23-20. That's my first upset, straight up upset of the week.
Yeah, I mean,
We've been very
I
in
did.
agreement so far, which I do not like.
I know. Um, we have
We've
we haven't
disagreed
picked
on like
different.
one. The only one
Well,
we disagreed on was Pittsburgh, Cleveland.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, but I mean, I did pick Seattle until you said that Stafford's playing. So
Welcome to our side. All right. The Sunday night game, sneaky decent. Vikings at Broncos.
this
Broncos
is where we gotta disagree.
maybe. 3, 2, 1. Broncos.
Vikings.
Okay. Yeah, I got Broncos 20-17. I think this will be a defensive grinder game, and again, sneaky decent.
I like it. Got the Vikings because Josh Dobbs is like QB1 now. He's QB1 now. Best quarterback in the league.
All right.
Hype train. I'm just kidding.
Okay, Kyle. All right.
Yeah.
Now, the true game of the week, Monday night, Super Bowl rematch, both coming off a bye. Philly at Kansas City. Kansas City, 2.5-point favorites.
I love how they did that too, giving them both a bye before they play.
That was very strategic, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I love it, though, too.
Is Taylor Swift going to be there? 100%. She's got to be. Dude, I don't care what. Dude, Travis Kelce, that is real. When Taylor Swift is at the game, he's like 100-yard. It's every time she's there, he gets like 120 yards or whatever. And then when he's not there, he gets like 60.
Yeah, because he's sad.
But I've got Philly.
So, I imagine you think I picked the Chiefs. Is that what you think? That's what you would have thought. You totally thought I would pick the Chiefs. And I did until earlier today. And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? Eagles want revenge. I took the Eagles, 24-20. I think this will be a really good game. I'm expecting this to be living up to the game of the year type thing, to where it feels like a Super Bowl. And I don't know. I just feel like both defenses are going to be solid, but Chiefs offense is sputtering a little bit, and I'm a little concerned about it. And I think this is a team that can control the clock, that being the Eagles, to where that Chiefs defense can't carry them through the game. I'm going to go Eagles.
I mean, when I thought about this, like when I, whatever, when I look at the games or for the upcoming week or whatever, I wanted to pick in my head, I was like, Chiefs win. Then when I looked at the notes for today or whatever, and I was like, there's no way. Like, the Eagles got to win this one. They got to. For all the reasons you said, honestly. And just because, I got to pick Jason Kelce this time. Got to go with the O-line.
Yeah.
But if Taylor Swift's there, I mean, go over on Travis Kelce.
Wow. Drake's betting advice of the week. You are 1 for 1. So
1 for 1.
Let's see. We might make that into a little, Drake's takes as far as picks for 1 over or 1 under per week. Because, 1 for 1. And let's see. I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, what's his line right now?
Probably I would guess 80.5.
80.5?
That would be my guess.
Let's see. It is 76.5.
What'd I tell you? I'm the
That's
Vegas.
Over. 86.5, that's over.
I said 80.5.
Okay, this is stupid. Prize Picks has Travis Kelce plus Jason Kelce rush and reception touchdown combo.
That is
Jason Kelce.
That would be sweet. Jason Kelce, tight end. He said, "Hey, ref, am I good?"
Or just
Or it'd be like you bounce it outside.
Wow. All right.
Inside joke. Wow.
Inside joke. What is he? Oh, he's 75.5 on Sleeper.
I like Sleeper. Yep. No, I would definitely hammer the over on that one. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I like
Last
sleeper
week I
too.
called Jalen Warren. Let's see if I call Jason Kelsey. That's only if Taylor Swift's at the game though.
Yeah. No, that's a good caveat to have,
She's
though.
she's not there. Take the under.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's a wrap on episode 46. I'm ready to go watch this game. And
I know.
Drake, it was nice for you to join us for the second half and carry us to the finish line. Good stuff on
I
Average
know.
Joe's episode.
Oh yeah. Definitely a good segment. Definitely got to bring it back. Wish I could have been here for the whole thing, but it's like work, man. Just can't wait until one day I don't have to do it.
One of these days.
One
Mad
of
Talk.
these days, bro. Yeah, one of these days.
All right. Well, everyone else, thank you for joining in as always. And make sure to check us out more to see all of our content on YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram, all at Mad Talk Sports. And we will again be coming at you next week, most likely with a guest.
Oh, spoiler.
Oh, we'll find out next week.
Next week. Peace.
Peace.